Good morning, Rise Up. I'm Michelle, and I'm here to tell you that if you don't have a sunny spot in your yard or wherever, you can grow a few things in partial shade. And if you can look down here, we have peas are one of the cool crops that you can plant. They prefer it cool, they don't like it hot, and they will do great in partial shade. This bed here it doesn't start to get sunny until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon where it gets total sun. But these are your snow peas, the edible potted ones. They were nice and lush here a couple days ago, but we had a chipmunk. So he got a couple of the things coming up, but hopefully they'll come back. These have been planted 7 days. As you can see, they're well on their way. I also companion plant, which means you can plant certain vegetables with other vegetables and they will thrive. This row is spinach, and they also do not tolerate hot weather, so they're great to grow in a shady spot. These will be probably ready to harvest in, I'm gonna say, 15 days about. So I'll get little tiny leaves off them, enough for a salad. But also other plants that you can grow in shade are radishes, of course your peas, onions, spinach, lettuce, anything that you plant in the early spring. As soon as the ground can be worked, they like it cool. Their feet like to be cold. And we do 2 rows. Our beds are 4 feet wide, and we can get 2 rows in, and that's one of the great things about gardening in a raised bed. You can compact your space. But I don't add anything to this. We have really good dirt. It's a combination of peat, sand, and a little bit of topsoil. We buy it pre-mixed at a guy a few miles from here that has a bog on his property, so it's all organic. That's the key. We never use any fertilizer. We never have. We were organic before it was cool 40 years ago. We just never have used, none of our vegetables have ever seen fertilizer. So that's pretty much it. And some of your peas you have to trellis, like your edible potted ones grow a little taller. I just prefer those versus the bush bean. You get a bigger pod. So you will have to stake. Eventually we'll come through and put up our fence when our ones that we're harvesting now down here. As you can see, here's another shady bed, and we are growing tomatoes in it, but this will probably have another hour or 2 more sun than the previous bed. And I have a big patch of lettuce here that I've been picking on for weeks. And I've planted radishes in here, and onions, and the lettuce and tomatoes. The tomatoes do, supply some shade for your shady, your crops that like the shade. But down here we have, these are beans. Down here we have what we planted in the early spring. These are the same variety. They're Burpee's organic stringless, and that's key. Make sure if you go to the store and buy your peas and you want the edible potted ones, you buy stringless. They don't have a lot of your peas and beans will have a string, and it's really annoying to try to eat it. But as you can see, when you break it off, there's no string that you have to pull. A lot of your heirloom varieties will have that. We prefer not to deal with it. So these will eventually, you can eat the pods as you can with, any of your regular peas. But if these get too big, you can go ahead and eat the peas inside. But this is what they look like. This is about how tall they get. And so I don't know, my husband gets this fencing at, I believe, Tractor Supply. It comes in great big huge sheets, and he cuts it apart, and it makes a nice sturdy fence, and you don't have to worry about strings and keeping it tight so they stay up. It already does it. We just stick them in the ground, they grow right up, they weave themselves in and out, and it keeps it really nice and straight up. As you can see, I've also, don't look at my weeds, but I plant on the insides of the rows. We've already harvested some of the lettuce. This is romaine lettuce. We like that. And I will get, several cuttings of it. And when I thin it out, when I thin out the romaine, I actually will pull it out and transplant it someplace else. So we have a constant supply of romaine lettuce all through the summer. But the key is to keep lettuce in the shade. They will bolt and become bitter very quickly if they get too hot. So that's why I do this. If you just have to kind of think of what you're planting and where you're planting it. But just keep in mind your leafy greens, with the exception of kale, like to stay cool. The hot sun, they don't really tolerate it. Even if you buy a package of seeds that says heat tolerant, don't believe it. They will still bolt if it gets too hot. And the temperatures we've had the last week or so have been terrible. And this, the romaine, as you can see, is still coming along. We just had a great big salad I don't know if it was last night or the night before, and it still is nice and sweet as it was in the beginning. We usually do two beds of peas because we like these, and they do harvest. I mean, you can put them in the freezer, but we prefer to eat most of our stuff just fresh and in season. That's when it's the best for you, is fresh. Now if you look down here, I have another shade bed that I have lots of weeds, but in all honesty, we had an old neighbor years ago that used to tell me weeds keep the roots cool. So, it's just one of those things. Personally, I don't like to see the weeds. I just haven't been able to get out here. But this is some of the romaine that I have transplanted from the 2 rows. This will be ready to harvest. I don't know, I planted these probably 2 or 3 weeks ago from the other rows, and they're doing great. And these will be our onions for winter. They will be nice big, they'll get probably like that big. I can't remember the name of them, but these will just stay in the ground all season, and I'll harvest them in the fall. And then over here are some more green onions and a chipmunk. He's probably the one that was eating our peas.
Is he in there?
Yeah. He will find a new home down by the creek. But we don't kill anything, trust me. But these are onion sets that we buy. You can grow your onions from seed. My husband likes them fast, so we buy onion sets, and we try to find organic, which is kind of hard. You can order them online. These are just your basic yellow cooking onion. But that's about it for, you can see that certain things will grow in shade. You don't need, full sun like a lot of plants do, like your squash and tomatoes and your green beans. They need full sun. but you know, it's easy to do, and to be honest, a lot of this stuff you can put in pots if you have a back porch or patio or whatever. You can grow your onions, your lettuce, your peas. I'm not going to suggest that, simply because they need a lot of room. But you could try it. You know, everything's always worth a try. Um, but definitely, you know, try your lettuce, try your greens. I never had really good luck growing spinach either in pots, but you know, somebody you might want to. Um, but if you're wondering what this big thing is, this is Sweet Annie, and I wish you could smell it. This is one of the, I just let these go to seed and they come up all over the place. I just like them.
Do they flower?
They will get tiny little flowers on them. They're not significant. What they are is a strewing herb, is what they were grown for back in the Victorian years. They would put these in their tussie mussies with tussie mussie is a little bouquet that the ladies would carry around if they were walking in the city and stuff, because, well, it's not very pleasant, but they didn't have very good sanitation back then. And it didn't smell very good. So they would take Sweet Annie, your lavender, mints, any of your herbs that smell really good, and make a little bouquet, and they would wave it under their noses
When they were walking.
when
on
they
the
were
street.
walking. Yep. And this is an old herb, and as far as you can eat it, it does. And I'm not sure. There'll be a good question for Kristen. I don't know if it has any medicinal value or not. I just like it. That's why it grows. So, but anyways, I hope that gives you an idea of what you can grow in if you have partial shade. Like this stuff gets probably 4 hours of full sun a day. I'm going to say you need at least 4 hours, but as you can see, you can grow. Thank you. See you next time.